One of the people who helps make this happen is Stacey in New York. So Stacey, we're going to go to you now. Ask you to say just a minute worth about your school, and then describe your experience from bringing legislators into your school, please.
So we are a pre-K to 12 conversion charter school in New York City, actually not too far from Richard's school, and we've been around for a long time. And I won't say too much about our school because I really want to just address a few key points. First, I want to echo what everybody said, but I don't want to be repetitive. I want to say, number one, for the students who are on, your voice is critically important. Elected officials do see you as voters. You need to present yourself as, I'll be voting very soon, if not already, and put that out there and make those issues around your student government. For the school leaders on, it's taken a long time, but this webinar to me is a huge step in the right direction to understand that really it is our moral obligation as school leaders to advocate for what our schools need. And we do that by engaging our elected officials. That's one way, many ways. So we all want the best for our kids, and we need to get those relationships going. So we like to think of them as friend raising, and people talk about friend raising and fundraising. We've heard a little bit about that. We do want to make friends with our elected officials. And I want to just say, not just the state elected officials, because sometimes the way to a state elected official is actually making good friends with city electeds and federal electeds. And we've done it all here. And certainly in New York, I can't speak for other states. If you can have a great relationship with your council member or a great relationship with your congressman who goes to Washington, the political community can be very tight, and that can help you to also get relationships with your state elected officials who ultimately really do dictate policy and can get funding. The one comment I want to make, because again, all the comments made were really, really useful and things that we've done here, is that there are many, many misconceptions out there, unfortunately, even though charter schools have been around for 20 plus years, more maybe, in the country. And there are still all these misconceptions. It boggles my mind to think about that, but we take those misconceptions really seriously and do what we can to address them head on. So if we hear an elected official say, charter schools in the city don't take special ed kids, we make it our point to actually address that issue head on. So yes, we do all the events and the celebrations and photo ops, but we also will call them in and say, guess what? We have a 20% special ed population. Come and visit our special ed class. Come and meet the parents. I think that's really important to get to know what their issues are, because they're getting blasted by other people and other forces who are telling them otherwise. And they're getting a lot of misinformation that they're feeding on sometimes. And it's our job. We're educators, right? So we should be able to educate them and say, the information you have isn't correct. The other thing that I know I take on, and usually most people listen, doesn't always change policy, but most people listen, is that if you have a problem with, a particular thing going on in the charter sector or with a school, don't generalize that to the entire charter world. You wouldn't do that with a district school, nor should you. There could be a bad district school. There could be a bad charter school. That's a problem that should be addressed like any bad apple. But that doesn't mean the whole movement is bad. I also try my best, even though I'm on the board of C3S, which is New York's independent charter school group, to really say, there are great network charter schools, there are great independent charter schools. If you're a great school doing the right thing, that's what's important, and that's the message, because I think we get a little weak if we allow people to kind of put fissures and fractures in our movement. But that said, I think it's an education movement for elected officials, hugely important to get those misconceptions out of the way. We hear, I think somebody alluded to the fact about, all the money, and yeah, there's money. We don't all get it, but there's money out there from some people. But I think some people that people tend to mention, the certain foundations, are also giving money to traditional district schools, but you don't hear that side of the story. So it's clearing up the story, it's having a good relationship. It's also being willing to be bipartisan. So no matter what your politics are personally, we have to work with whoever's there, Republicans, Democrats, independents, and just being, very serious. And I think somebody said persistent, maybe Richard Lee, never giving up. And I do think it's important to get a jump before the session starts, although I also think it's really important, if you can, to be there when things are happening. At least in Albany, I can tell you, so much stuff seems to happen in 24 hours before their budget deadline, that if you're not there, they might have forgotten your conversation 4 months ago. So it's kind of ongoing and a little daunting, but I think by being persistent, we can move things forward.
Really well done. Thanks so much.